Okay. Welcome everyone for the recording, and we're going to get started just now. Ooh. Welcome everybody. It's fantastic to see you all joining us. Welcome. My name is Eleanor from The Big Draw, and welcome to Teaching Digital Sketching with Damian Parker. As you can see, we have the wonderful Damian with us. We also have Annalise and David from Concepts. Do pop into the chat where you're joining us from. Let us know if you are a teacher, what kind of school you teach at, what kind of organization you teach at, maybe the different ages. That's always just really interesting for us to hear about. Annalise will be with us this evening and supporting on more technical questions for Concepts, but the focus of today's session is on the idea of teaching digital sketching. But it is obviously incredibly helpful to have two members of the Concepts team with us, especially to answer all those those more technical questions that you might have. I'm going to kick off because we have an hour. We were flexible last time. We ended up going over, but we are aware that obviously everyone has very tight schedules. So we are going to endeavour to stay as close to time as possible. But if it does happen, do not panic. The session is being recorded. And if you do ask a question and have to leave for any particular reason, you are very welcome to watch the recording back and be able to hear the answer that way as well. The chat box along the bottom bar, the little speech bubble, most people are familiar with it, but that's the chat function where you're very welcome to interact with each other and with the different panelists we have this evening. Also, you can see the Q&A bubble, which are two bubbles next to each other. If you have a specific question, it is just much easier for us if you can pop it in there, and then we're able to see those questions and pick that out from amongst the wonderful engaging chats that you all may well have, which is always very lovely to see as well. I'm going to also just give everyone a little bit of background on who we are as the Big Draw, because we have a wonderful collaborative audience with us this evening. People who have come through the Big Draw audience, but also people who could join us from the Concept app as well. The Big Draw, in essence, is a visual literacy charity, and our work is to promote the universal language of drawing as a tool for learning and expression and invention. And we are also the driving force behind the Big Draw Festival, the world's biggest celebration of drawing. So it almost seems obvious that Concepts App and the Big Draw go hand in hand. It's a really interesting conversation around that idea of the different tools that we all use to create and explore and draw as well, which is what we're exploring this evening. So David, I'll let you share a little bit more about Concepts.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's David Britton from the Concepts team. For those who don't know, Concepts is an app designed for sketching, visual thinking, note-taking. It's been built from the ground up for devices with a stylus, so things like the iPad, Microsoft Surface, or Android tablets, and Chrome OS too. You can download it. It's a free download from your kind of favorite store, whether that's the App Store, the Play Store, or the Windows Store. We offer a lot for free in the app to kind of get you started, and then have in-app purchases to unlock the remaining features. If you're an educator, then please drop us an email. We have ways of getting you licensed for free. So you can email education@concepts.app, and we'll kind of answer any questions you have there and walk you through getting you set up. That's for educators only. I'm excited to see the workshop from Damian today. Damian's been using Concepts for many years, and I think is a true innovator in using digital sketching in education. He's probably taught more people how to use Concepts than anyone else in the world, so I think we're in great hands today. We've done kind of interviews with him in the past, and Annalise will share some links to those on our website if people want to get more background on how Damian uses Concepts in school. And yeah, I'll hand you over to Damian. Let's get started. Thanks very much.
Okay, guys, welcome. I'm just going to share my screen and we can make a start. So hopefully you've got a stylus, an Apple Pencil, or whatever you're working with, and your pad's ready to go. Okay. There we go. Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Damian Parker, and I'm a design technology teacher from South Wales in the UK. And tonight we're going to give you a taste of how we introduce digital design at our school using the Concepts app and iPad. Now, I'm not an expert in the use of Concepts. However, I have been teaching this app successfully for a number of years to my students. So we're going to give you the introduction that we give our students from day one using the app and the iPad. So we're going to give you a taste of the tools available, and hopefully you can come away with a small drawing and hopefully a bit of inspiration to transition from the traditional skills with pencil and paper into the digital world like we have over the last few years. So we're going to start off by looking at our toolbar. So when you open your iPad, you will see on the app, you will see the tools. On the top left is our toolbar, and you will see the layers underneath. So this is our toolbar, and these are our layers underneath. Now, if I tap on any of these tools, I can create on my page, and because my layers are automatic, if I tap pencil, you will see it changing the layers, go into a different layer with a pen. And then if I want to rub out, you have to select those layers. So if I select the watercolor, I can rub out on there, the pencil layer, I rub out my pencil, and the pen, I can simply rub out over the top. Now, another technique I like to show the students, if you, instead of going to the toolbar for undo, try out tonight using double tap with your finger. So if you double tap 2 fingers, it will undo, and 3 fingers, it will redo. Now you can change this in the settings as well, but that's what we like to get our students to use. So we're going to start off by setting up our pencil. So what we're trying to achieve here, we're going to use a soft pencil and give the impression that we are just sketching with a normal pencil on a piece of paper. So this tool here will give you the thickness of your line, and then you can create it on the page. And this one here will give you the density of color, and the little icon opposite, which looks like a little squiggle, that's the smoothing tool, which we're going to leave at 0 for this part, so that it's all nice and free. And when you get your students to use this pencil tool, we get them to use a very, very fine line, and we get the density really, really faint, so that they can build up their tones and their layers as they progress. So what we're trying to achieve now is just like a little sketch here to show you, just like you would with a pencil and paper. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to have a little play with that. And as was mentioned earlier, all the work tonight is going to be recorded and will be available through the big draw. If you've got any technical questions, we've got our team of Concepts who can add some more information about that tonight, or we will email back to you at a later date. Now, during the sketches tonight, don't be too precious with your work. It is going to be quite a fast pace, okay? So just don't be too precious, and you can always have a go in more detail when you have a little bit more time. So hopefully you can keep pace with us tonight as we move through the different skills. Okay, so what we're going to start off with now is we're going to create our little Mario character. So in your downloads, wherever you put your Mario, we're going to copy and paste that into our page. So I'm going to start a new page on my Concepts app. If I open that, I'm going to go into my photographs. I'm going to screenshot my Mario. And if you look on the top right, that will go to my paperclip in my Concepts app. Now I know this is slightly different using different tablets, and I think Dave will jump in at a later point to show you how to do this. But for me on the iPad, you can see my little character is in the top right, and I can just paste that by tapping onto the sheet. Now the next tool that we're going to use is the pinch and maneuver. So using your thumb and your finger, you can manipulate the size of the drawing and rotate it to where you want. And you can now see that we've got the Mario in an image layer. And I'm going to reduce that layer and reduce the opacity right the way down until I've just got enough detail that I can draw. And I'm also going to lock that. Okay, so I've tapped on the padlock there, so that doesn't move on my canvas. So now we're going to set up the pencil layer. So a new layer, and we're going to set the pencil tool. Again, we're going to use soft pencils for tonight. And we're going to set this pencil quite thin, and make sure your students have the students have the density quite faint, okay? Because when they draw these layers with a thick line and it's too heavy, they don't get very good results. So once you've started sketching and they're away, I would maneuver around the room and have a look to see how good their line drawing is and if it needs changing. So all we're going to do now is simply sketch over the little Mario character. Now I'm not going to be too precious with the sort of shadows and everything tonight. I'm just going to get the main outline. And like I said earlier, because we're pushed for time here, really, just sketch as fast as you can. Don't be precious with it, and just pick out as many details as you can so that we can progress with the skills area tonight. So all we're doing now is just copying what's underneath. Now, the reason why we're copying and tracing is because what we're trying to do here is build up the students' confidence. Now, when we first started trialing this app, if we asked the students simply to draw something of their own designs, they didn't get very good results because they were a bit afraid and apprehensive about using the different tools, and their outcomes didn't look that great to start. So we were looking at other ways where we can build confidence. Now, by tracing to start with, they will all come away with their first drawing that looks really good. And it's all about building that confidence and learning the tools and learning the techniques of using the Concepts app. Now, one of the reasons that we use the Concepts app is because of the simplicity of it. Now, it can produce very high quality presentation work within the right hands. But for us, we just wanted a sketching tool that would bridge between the research area and the sort of high quality CAD work that we were doing using some other software packages on the computer. So it was the perfect sort of this perfect app that met our requirements. So hopefully now you're sketching along with me. Now you can see when I'm sketching other parts of the Mario, what I like to do is maneuver the character. Now again, this is the pinch technique. So finger and thumb, and you will be able to rotate the character, zooming in and out. And what you'll find, you'll be using two hands when you're sketching. And you will see the students start to develop this skill when you stand back and watch them create within the classroom. You will find that you have one hand on tapping the different apps, and then your other hand then will be sketching. So we're almost halfway through the sketch here. So what I'll need to do now, I want to sketch, are there any details that I've missed out? Because sometimes you might not be able to see it. So what we're going to teach you now is how to hide a layer so you can check on your progress. Now, if you see the little eye on the layer, see that there? If you tap on that eye, it will hide your layer. And now I can see, okay, I've got most of the details in at the top. And now I can maneuver myself into the bottom, look at what's needed, and now I can continue my line drawing. Now again, because this is just an introduction, I wouldn't worry about, following the lines too closely. Okay, so just a quick sketch so that we can get a fairly good outcome at the end. So almost finished. I can now hide my image layer, and there's my first sketch. Okay, so we're going to allow you a minute or so on there to catch up. And again, if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat. Remember, keep using that pinch maneuver tool, okay, by using your thumb and your finger to move around and zoom in and out. And very quickly, this will just become like a natural progression using the app. So what we're going to do next, we're going to add a pen layer, and we're going to outline our sketch using a different tool, which is the pen. Now, with any of these tools, if you don't see them appearing in your toolbar, you simply got to double tap what is there, and it will access the tools that you can use at any point. Okay, guys, so I'm now going to take you through the pen tool. So another thing that you need to point out here when you're teaching your students is making sure that they've got a new layer. Now I've got my my settings set up to automatic. So when I choose a new tool, it will create a new layer. But the whole purpose of this exercise is getting them to understand layers as well as using the tools. So if they're not on automatic, just get them to select new layer when they select the pen tool. Okay, here we go. So now I'm going to select my pen, and there's a number of different pens that are available, but we're just going to use the one tonight called Pen, which I like to use for my outlines for the students. And make sure your line thickness again is quite thin. The density of the color should be at 100%, and the smoothing, the accuracy tool now, I like to use between 25 to 30%, but it's up to you. This will come with trial and error. Now, what this tool will allow, when you're going around your curves and so on, it'll make them a lot more accurate, and it'll give you a better quality finish. So we're going to use the smoothing tool now. When you're creating your line on the page, so if I just draw my line on here, if it's too thick, 2-finger tap, quick undo, go back up to the line thickness, and then just reduce that down. And again, this is another key area that we look at when we're working with students, is making sure that that line is very thin to start. Okay, so if you want to start sketching now, guys, I'm just going to copy all the pencil marks that I created when I traced my Mario character. Okay, so again, use the pen tool, reduce to roughly the thickness that I've got on there. And again, using the pinch tool, you will see me manipulate and maneuver my character to make it easier for me to draw at various stages. Now, we could have simply used the pen tool straight over the top of our Mario character when we copied and pasted onto the sheet. But the whole purpose of doing this is to teach students how to use layers. And when they start becoming more confident and they are sketching more freely their own work, we get them to sketch the pencil outlines first. And then when they get a feel for the design, whatever they're trying to create, then we get them to do a new layer and use the pen layer then over the top. So even though there's other ways of doing these things, there's sort of method that we're trying to use to encourage the use of different sort of tools within the app as their introduction. So you can see now I'm starting to manipulate and maneuver. It just makes it that little bit easier to sketch and draw. So hopefully you're keeping up tonight. Again, everything is going to be recorded, so don't worry too much if you don't finish during this workshop. Now, one of the things that I do like to do when I'm teaching the students this sort of the basic techniques, I will draw along with them. So my iPad will be AirPlayed to the TV in the workshop. And at this stage, you know, we can just let them go and we can start drawing, and I'll draw along with them. Now, by drawing along with them, they can see my workflow and the way I work and move by moving in and out. And it also helps keep the pace of the lesson. So it's always very good to sketch along with them. And especially if you're new to it as well, you know, why not tell them, well, let's learn together, guys, let's follow a tutorial. Or you could even be playing this workshop back to them and trying these techniques back in your own classroom. We always find that when we use new apps, that being honest with the students and saying, well, look, guys, I don't know what this does, or let's try what this sort of technique will do on our sheet. And they sort of respond to that very well. And what you'll find is a lot of students will come back and say, well, try this last night, sir, and this works a little bit better. Or they will say, I found this technique, and I'll get them to role model then in front of the class. And that, again, it builds their confidence, and we can progress then with the new sort of technology. Now, with a very tight curriculum, the students have far more time to play and explore than we do as educators. So by encouraging this sort of technique, you know, you can really sort of learn a lot of the skills and the other areas of the app. So we're almost there now. And what I'm going to do at the end of the sketch, I'm going to add a thicker outline around the outside to make the drawing more dynamic. And when I add the color, then it just gives it more of an impact, and it starts to teach the students the importance of the density of line and thickness of line. Okay, so that's my outline complete. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back up to the pen layer. And I'm going to increase the thickness of that line. I'm just going to simply go around the outside. Not quite happy with that thickness, so I'm just going to double tap, make it a little bit thicker again. And I'm simply just going to go around the outside edge only. Again, get used to using the pinch and rotate function within the app, because it does make drawing on the outlines a lot easier. So this would be the student's first introduction to using concepts. And then we have more tutorial books that we've got that will explore the depth, the sort of app in far more depth, and take things to the next level. The books are available free download on Apple Bookstore that we use our students, and I'll talk about those later on this workshop. Now you can see with the smoothing tool with this one, I've upped the accuracy to 35%. Now you might want to play with that a little bit as well, and it all depends on how small or how large your drawing is on the canvas. So that's something that you can explore, and it just makes the lines a lot neater then, especially the outlines. So once we've finished our outline, what we're going to be doing next is adding color using the fill tool. Okay, so we're basically done. So that's my Mario character outlined and with a thicker outline around the outside. So again, we're going to give you a minute or so to catch up. And then if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat now.
One quick additional tip on smoothing, as you talked about that, is if you dial smoothing up to 100%, it's a very quick way of drawing straight lines. So you can very rapidly draw something up that depends on straight line segments, or sketch something with 100% smoothing.
Like I said earlier, don't worry too much about getting a really high quality finished drawing at this stage. Just get your outlines in for now, and then so you get the skills tonight, and then you can go away and do something amazing when you've got your own time. Right then, guys. So finally, now we're going to add color to our sketch. So we're now going to use what we call a fill tool. Now, if you notice on my toolbar there, the fill tool is not available yet. So I'm going to double tap one of the icons and then select the fill tool. Now, the reason why we're going to use the fill tool is because it will enable a very smooth sort of block of color to your drawing. And if you move over the top, if you have to go over the top, if you have to repair any areas, it stays completely flat color. So it's a good introduction to adding color to their work. So let's make start. Now, if you're using the free version of Concepts, you're limited with your layers. So with the layers highlighted, if you just tap the trash can, they will disappear. So if you're doing some more of your own work and you don't need any of these layers, you can just delete those off. So I'm just going to delete off what I don't need. And now I'm going to double tap on my watercolor and change that to the fill tool. And it's already selected the red for me that I'm going to use for the Mario hat. So I'm just going to create right outside the line. And what I'm going to do then, I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to use the hard mask tool. Now, I've been told this week that the slice tool actually works better when you're using the fill tool for this exercise. Now, the mask tool does exactly what it says. It just masks out the color. So when you're moving your drawings around, you might see some bits of color, and you might think, well, I didn't put that there, or you might see some rub out marks. That's because this is just simply masking. it is not deleting. If you want to delete, use the slice tool. Okay, but for this exercise, we're going to use the hard rubber, the hard mask, and rub out the color that we don't need. Again, this is just a different way that we can introduce students to a different part of the app. So now I'm going to change the color. If you see that, like, I'm just adding in a little bit over where I missed, okay, you can just simply add over the top and fill in different areas. Don't worry if you miss a bit out. So I'm just going to add a bit of white, selected the white, and I'm going to this time use the eyedropper tool, which I'll show you again in a moment, to select the same color. This is a quick way of selecting the same color rather than going back into the color wheel and finding the red that you used or the previous color that you used. So that's using the eyedropper tool. So if you look under where it says cockpit there, you've got a star and there's a little droplet, okay? So you can just use that then and hover over the color that you want to continue using. So now we're gonna add color to the face. Now this time I'm gonna go within the lines and I'm gonna use a fleshy color to start with as the base color. And then I'm gonna continue with the colors over the top. Now, using the fill tool, whatever color you use, it doesn't affect what is underneath. It will simply just go straight over the top. So don't worry about it blending or the colors underneath interfering. So I'm just going to start by adding the details to the face. And then I'm going to select like a brown color. I'm going to place that on the hair and the mustache and the eyebrows. So you can see it's quite quick and easy. And you can see there are little bits that we miss out. And all I've got to do, if I want to be really precious, I can zoom back in and add those little bits over. Now, you can use the fill tool to add shadows as well. So if you start to get really clever with this, you can add the shadows in just by selecting the color, and without drawing the outline with the pen tool, you can add the shadows over the top. So you can get really good results just by simply using the fill tool. So now I'm going to do the base color for the eyes in white. And then add the color tones over the top. And then I'm going to still use the fill tool to add white to highlight on the eyes, but you can use the pen tool and you can change the pen to white to put little highlights on. There's a number of different ways that you can use. So now I'm going to work on the upper body. And again, if you watch, I'm going to select the droplet tool, the eyedropper, and I'm going to hover that over the red. There we go. So that I got the same red again. And again, you can zoom in and out if you want, or you can just simply draw quickly over the top. There's part of the jump, but you can see I just missed a little bit there. So I'm going to go back in and highlight that out. Again, that pinch tool to zoom in and out is so effective, and you can rotate as well. So get used to using that. It is a definite skill that you will see your students use straight away. So now we're going to start filling in his dungarees. Now with this one, I'm purposely going to go over the button just to show you that when I add yellow over the top, so just tidy this up a little bit. When I add the yellow over the top, the blue underneath will not make any difference whatsoever. Just got a nice bright yellow there, and that will just fill over the top. Now, what you've also got to make sure is that the pen layer sits at the top of your layers. So the pen layer is always at the top. So it's always above the color. So now I'm going to select the eyedropper tool again, select the blue so it matches, and it's so much quicker and easier than going in and looking at your color palette and looking at, well, which blue did I use? Okay, it's a very quick way and it's a good way to get your students working. Now, again, this is something like we're doing tonight. I would sketch with the students. Once I'm confident that they're using the app correctly and there's no issues, they will just fully concentrate on what they're doing, and you can work with them on the screen. So this time I have to go around my button because I've already colored that in. Follow the under the armpit there and then zoom in. I'm just going to fill that back over. So all I've got left to do now are the boots. Now, another tip that I use with the students, if they are literally copying something off the screen, they can copy and paste the Mario character onto the screen at the same time they're drawing, and you can use the eyedropper tool to hover over the colors on the actual picture of the Mario. So this way, you will match identically the colors that are on the Mario. I'm just going to finish off now. Hopefully you're all sketching along with me, guys. And there we have it. There is our Mario. So this is where our students would be at the end of their first lesson. So they're going to be walking away with the first character that looks really well drawn, and they would be really pleased. So again, it's all about boosting confidence, but they've learned so many different skills within that app, within that very, very simple and basic exercise. So it's a nice way to start introducing new students into concepts. Okay, so again, I'm going to give you a minute or so to catch up. Okay, guys, so what I'd like to show you now is where my students are with this drawing app. So they've just been introduced to this app, just like you have during this workshop. And what they're doing at the moment, they're creating a little key torch for me out of 4 layers of acrylic, and they're using the Nintendo characters as their theme. So what we've got them to do, so these are some of their design ideas. And what we get them to do to start is to provide me with evidence that they've gone through the process that you have done during this workshop. So they do their pencil sketch, take a screenshot, and then they put it in their portfolio of work. Then they do their outline, and then they do their sort of color work. Now from there, we've taken things a step further, and we've been teaching them how to manipulate their drawings into 2-point perspective. So if I just show you some of their work. So these are from different students, and these students are aged 13 to 14. So you can see their drawings there, and this is where they take it to the next level using 3D work, and it's a different technique that we use again, using 2-point perspective. So that gives you an idea of where our students are at, and this has taken them probably 3 1-hour lessons, and that's where that's the progress that they've made so far. So we are really happy with the techniques that they're using. And when we first were looking into using digital sketching, we were looking at what impact it would have on the students. Is it going to benefit them? Are they going to gain from this? Now, with all the technology that we use in our school, it has to have impact, and you can clearly see the impact is there. The workflow is far neater. They're producing work of a higher standard and in less time. So it's something that that we've really sort of invested in. And that's it, guys. That's it from me tonight. So thank you very much for joining us. Now, there are links to the books that we've used with our students in the past. There's higher level techniques that we use with concepts. They are using the older format concepts layout, but the tutorials and the tools themselves are exactly the same. So please download them from the Apple Bookstore. They're free, and you can share those with your students or work along. And Eleanor's added those into the big drawer, like with every recording that we've done tonight. So everything will be available for you to use there. If you want to contact me via Twitter, my Twitter handle is @CyresDT, and I'm quite active on Twitter, and I'll answer all your questions there as well. Or if you prefer to email, we can sort that out as well. So thank you very much for joining me. I'll hand you back now to Eleanor.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Damian. Flew through some wonderful skills and techniques there. And I think a lot of people had a variety of different questions as we were going along, but I think there was a lot of intense concentration on what they were creating. So if you have had any thoughts or any questions that have come to mind now that you're kind of easing your way out of your Mario character, do by all means put them into the Q&A. Sandeep had a question which I think you might want to link back into the books that you just shared, but they asked, what are the resources you would recommend for beginners who just started sketching?
For us, it was very difficult for us. There's lots of pro users out there that you will get a lot of tips from, and you'll get inspired. But for me, there was nothing, education-wise, there was nothing like that out there. So it was basically practicing and trialing with a number of different students. Now, when we were sort of coming up with our techniques and our sort of workflow, as it were, we were looking at, well, how can we hook these students into using the app, and how can we move them away from traditional sort of sketching techniques? And the one thing that we did find is all the students like to draw the trainers. So that's where the trainers book came from. We were trying to come up with a theme that was not gender biased or whatever, and every student loves the trainers. So we chose some of the traditional ones, like an Air Max or a Converse, or Adidas Superstars was one, or the newer ones. Now they're all drawing like Air Force. So get them to draw an outline layer, and if you look at the books, we will take you through using the sort of lines like we did tonight, and the layers, and adding color to their trainers. And what we started was a lunch club and after school club with the younger students. So I had an enthusiastic group of 12-year-olds that just wanted to absorb everything that I was throwing at them, and they very quickly came up with some amazing drawings, and that's what sort of sold it to us, really. We were aiming it at the higher students first, and the results were really good there. But then when we trialed it with our younger students, we found straight away that they could really sort of get good results for this and reward them. Now, we are very active on Twitter as a school, and what we did was, because we're a design technology department, we laser cut some little trophies, and we had sort of digital designer of the month, and we took the pictures and shared it all over Twitter with our school community, and then our wider community, and they really sort of loved this, and that sort of got the ball rolling, really. And then the rest has sort of evolved from there. So little wins, little clubs, and when you've got your own sort of skills sort of developing, then you'll have the confidence to take it through with your own classes. But with a very tight curriculum, we do appreciate that we can't step out and do something different, and a club is a really good way to introduce the digital sketching, really.
Yeah, I like the way that you linked in the trainers and then into the, I suppose, the design of the month. It's almost like employee of the month and getting them ready for when they'll have laser cut trophies later on. Thank you very much. I hope that answers your question, Sandeep. I think, yeah, I liked the way that you have talked before, and also in the conversation with our director, Kate Mason, in the Instagram Live with David as well, about the different ways to approach digital sketching with different age groups. Gabrielle has a question. You said on a particular slide that they are CAD, CAM designs. Can you create designs that are recognizable to a laser cutter?
Yes, and we're just in the process of experimenting with that. So I'm sure Dave will jump in later with this conversation. But what we've found is if they create the line drawing using the wire tool, we can export that directly into, we are running our laser cutter off Design Tools 2D Design, or we have got it working on Adobe Illustrator. And we are experimenting how we can get that file from concepts to Adobe Illustrator in a way that we can get a class through to laser cutter. But yes, you can take it through to your laser cutter.
Okay, yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there are various kind of tweaks and optimizations. So using smoothing is one of them. Applying smoothing definitely helps in this process, because the vector that gets generated and passed on to the laser cutter will have many less points in it, and it will be easier to work with in the tools that you move to from concepts. But I know Damian's looking at this, and I think it's likely something we'll try and write up later in the year.
It's really interesting to know the degrees to which everyone wants to do, and then the next stage they want to move on to. So it's really interesting that you're both asking those same questions. Dane has a question. Have you had any students use concepts on a PC-based tablet, and was it successful, or do you require an iPad in your class?
For me, we've only used iPads. We're an Apple distinguished school, so all our students have iPads. So I have no experience using anything other than an iPad at the moment. Over to you, Dave, with that one.
Yeah, I mean, so Concepts is available on Windows. It is optimized for stylus touch interaction first. It's, we are working on improving kind of the mouse-based interactions with Concepts, but it's not as intuitive or as easy to use, particularly for students, I guess, getting started with sketching. So improvements to come. It's definitely not the best way to introduce students to Concepts right now, or digital sketching, I'd have said.
Okay, and you would both recommend to focus on more of the iPad?
Well, I mean, on Windows, Windows Surface products are very good, which are stylus based. Oh, so it looks like Dan's followed up and saying they're stylus based. Yeah, so if they're stylus based, then absolutely. Then Windows devices with the stylus are a great experience. And similarly, Android tablets like the Samsung Tab S7 or S8, or Chromos devices, Chromebooks that support stylus. The experience is essentially similar across all the platforms to what Damian showed today. Everything Damian showed is possible across all those platforms.
Yeah, it might just become. Sorry, go on, Dave.
Just one thing that I'd like to add. Now, when we first started investigating this, we had the very, very earliest iPad minis and the sort of 50p stylus, and we were creating, fantastic results for our students. We really done the bottom end. So you don't have to have an all singing, all dancing iPad Pro and an Apple Pencil. You can get good results with, some of the basic tools. So cost wise, you don't have to have the best, although it helps. We were making really good progress, and that's how we started. Was with a tiny little stylus that cost 50p. and a little tiny iPad mini. So, you know, you can create good results.
Gabrielle has followed up with, do you find students pick up concepts easily? Did you experiment with a few different ones first before implementing and focusing on concepts?
Yes. So for me, we were sort of experimenting into the digital sketching. At the time, we had a new school built, and they invested in iPads. So there was a lot of an experimental period that we were looking at different apps. And what we found was that some apps were really way too complicated for the students, and Concepts had that. Excuse me. So Concepts had what we needed. It was the simplicity and how user friendly it was, and there was everything there that sort of ticked all boxes that we required, and we could also see where we'd be developing in the future. And you know, like we are now, is exploring laser cutting. What I haven't touched on tonight is that a lot of our students as well have been importing their line drawings into an app called Tinkercad, which I'm sure many of your educators will know about. So they can actually create, by importing their line drawing, they can then explore and develop in Tinkercad and actually go to the 3D printer then with a 3D drawing. That's something that we've done as well.
I was going to say, Greg in the chat has asked about 3D printing, so you've elegantly stepped into that one as well. So all things are possible is the crux, basically, in answer to everyone's questions. If anyone has any questions about how St. Cyre's came to use Concepts or to use iPads across the teaching, there's a bigger discussion around that particular topic with Kate Mason, our director, and David and Damian over on the Big Draw YouTube channel. So do have a look at that if you've got any questions there. Another question. Oh yes, would you mind saying the name of the app that you mentioned? Was it Tinker?
Yeah, it's called Tinkercad. And
so Tinker and
CAD. It's an Autodesk app, and it's free.
Thank you, David, for popping the link in the chat there for everyone. Also, we have shared Damian's Twitter username and the link to his page if you'd like to find him. And lots of people saying thank you so much, that they've learnt so much, and they already want the replay. They want it now, and we haven't finished yet. That will be with you as soon as Zoom has processed it. So hopefully by tomorrow morning, you should have that ready and waiting, and you can rewatch, pause to your heart's content. That would be very interesting. And of course, any questions you have over the course of doing that, of having another look through the video, Damian would be happy to deal with them. You're either welcome to send them to him on Twitter, or you can email them in to the Big Draw, of course. Johnny asks, for the fill tool, is there a way to input in point instead of the drawing line?
We'll leave that with you, Dave.
No, there isn't. No, it's generally the focus is on drawing and sketching the line work directly.
Okay. I have to say, I was reading that question and was not quite sure what it was describing, but I think I came across fairly well. I'm the Big Draw person, so yes, pen and paper is my is my forte. I think we have covered all the questions that we do have. If anyone has anything else. Oh, Mark. Hi, Mark. Does Damian teach on the capability of press and holding the sketches to amend or with nudge after the piece is done?
We're not teaching to that level yet. We were just using the basics at this stage. So no, that's not something we've explored at this stage.
Mm-hmm. What did you really find? We've talked about this in the past, where you use Concepts mainly for the exam students, so from like year 9 onwards, but to get the students into exploring digital sketching, you made use of other apps like Keynote for the younger years.
Yes, this was mainly at the first stage because originally we had to purchase licenses. Now, because Concepts is now free, we will probably start using it with the lower school classes. But to get them into digital drawing, and this was one of the little wins that we had really during COVID. We had our workshops were locked down like all of you. Everything was pens, paper, everything was locked away. Students learning from home, but we were fortunate enough that they all had iPads. So we were exploring ways that we could still create, and everyone had access to the same tools. And by using Keynote, there's some amazing drawing features in the Apple apps that are free. And very quickly we found that we could create the designs that we wanted to do for their current projects. Now this is the 12 and 13-year-old students, using the simple drawing techniques in Keynote. So our introduction now for digital sketching is Keynote for the younger years. And then when they take our GCSE classes, then we introduce them to the more specialist drawing apps, which is Concepts. So that was a sort of a little win, really. So for those of you using Apple products, if you explore the drawing tools using Keynote, and again, we've released a few books on how to use Keynote for drawing. You can quickly train your students to use Keynote, and the results that we've had is fantastic. If we look at our best work from previous years, the level of detail, the standards, the workflow has really sort of improved over the last the year or so during the lockdown period. So yeah, Keynote is a really good one to explore.
Yeah, it's really good to have something to, I suppose, as a starting point. And what's also really interesting, and what we've discussed with the different work, and is when you then have these, I suppose, the final pieces that your GCSE students then have and your A-level students, and it almost seems kind of semi-professional, their process that they're able to then create and share.
Another thing that, when we were developing these skills, obviously it has an improvement on results and standards of work, but it's setting the students up for future skills. So when they went off to university, they were at a higher level, and then a lot of the students go in there, and or if they were going on for design jobs, it's looking at, well, what would they be doing if they were working in the creative industry? Well, most people now, they work on iPads and they're working in a digital format. So we were trying to look ahead, really, and prepare our students in that way. And I think the digital sketching has really transformed the way that they prepare for college and beyond, really.
No, I think that makes a huge difference. Gabrielle in the chat was talking to Annalise about using Concepts for digital painting. You absolutely can, Gabrielle. And Concepts and the Big Draw run a drawing challenge every month. And if you have a look, as Annalise has already shared the Concepts app Instagram account, you can see some wonderful pictures and paintings and drawings that people have created in Concepts. Using a variety of the different tools. There is a real versatility within the platform, absolutely. It's 7:27, so if anyone has any more questions, now is the time. I obviously won't say it's the final time, because of course it's not. If you're watching this back, and it's just a few days since we did the workshop, absolutely you can tweet Damian any questions, tweet the Big Draw, or email into us, and we will share our questions, any questions we get, with Damian, and we will see what we can do. We've also got, sorry, there's a few things going on in the chat, one moment. Mark, were Keynote downloadable resources for students from the start, or were they kept as more of a teaching tool only for at the time that you would run the class?
At the start, we sort of developed it for the classes, so we did little video tutorials, and then because I'm in charge of sort of design technology and faculty leader, I then put a booklet together. So then I used that with my staff then to train the staff, and then they use the booklet and the videos as exemplars then within their lessons. So everything that we sort of develop, we then share across our faculty. So I'm in charge of at the moment photography, art, and textiles as well. So we're currently using Concepts right across the board. So they use it in photography. So they're drawing, for example, one of their topics is Della Dessau. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. So they're using Concepts to draw over the top of over photographs to make it look like they're melting like wax. The textile students are really sort of pushing the boundaries with what they can create using Concepts now. And it's an app now that is spread right across the faculty area. And also you get students that are taking more than one subject. So it quickly gained momentum as the students got used to using the different techniques. The art students have got their own sort of digital drawing element as well. So yeah, we are using it right across the board.
That's fantastic. We've already got Mark saying cool. Brian wants to use these techniques with his first years at university to get them into digital sketching. This is all wonderful stuff to hear. And thank you, Oscar, for saying praises to Damien and to the Concepts app and everyone here. Annalise has pointed out they have a YouTube channel full of videos, so do go and have a look at the Concepts app YouTube channel. Also, Greg, what a wonderful question to round off on. Will there be any further courses like today's? We are absolutely exploring doing more Zoom workshops. This is our second of this new series, and we do absolutely hope that it will continue. We have created a very short little feedback form. So if you have any particular thoughts, any particular areas or topics that you specifically might want us to explore, do let us know, and we will absolutely take that into account. We'll see how long the list gets, and then we'll see how much we can work our way through. Of course, if Damien needs to come back due to popular demands, then we'll have to check his diary, but we will absolutely let you know. We also have a dedicated big draw and the Concepts app mailing list. It's the first place that we announce who we're going to feature next and the different events that we have coming up. But thank you so much, everyone, and thank you so much for staying. We managed to fit all that in, Damien, which was very impressive, I have to say. Very, very well done. Thank you so much for joining us and for being so generous with your time. And thank you to David. Thank you, Annalise, for your support in the chat. And thank you everyone for joining us and for signing up, and do let us know what you think, and stay tuned for the next one.
Good stuff. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thanks
lovely
again
evening.
for joining. Bye.
Bye.